Back to the Future Part 2. Now, this unfortunately won't get uploaded until October 22nd, but it is still technically October 21st. It's 11:59. I recently got back from seeing the Part 2 in the theaters, and that was a really fun experience. This is one of the few franchises I've always wanted to see, and I've said this like a million times, so I won't get into all that stuff, but I really wanted to see it. I hadn't done a review for the film since the first one, which I did back in May, which I kind of wish I saved until the 30th anniversary of the first movie, but I had no idea it was the 30th until the 4th of July actually happened. But I wanted to do this. I wish I had more time. I would have done this way earlier, but unfortunately, the only thing that sucked about today, there were like two things. One is the fact that with it landing on Wednesday, that's when my school schedule has me in my most classes, which is still only 2 classes, but it's at the beginning of the day. It was like from noon to basically 5 o'clock. I was in class, so like 5 straight hours. It was just like I can't really do anything, and it's officially midnight, so it's officially October 22nd, which is really weird. That means that October 21st is now the past. But this is my favorite movie of all time. As much as I love all my Star Wars stuff, Back to the Future, once I basically found it and I really got into it, it just instantly became my favorite franchise. And the second movie is pretty much it's my favorite movie of all time. Like, it's Back to the Future Part 2. Right after that is Seven Samurai, and then somewhere number 3 is probably Return of the Jedi. And Seven Samurai is like a really old Japanese film that a lot of people probably haven't seen or heard of, but it's really amazing. It's also 4 hours in black and white, so and in Japanese. But either way, Back to the Future Part 2 is super awesome. This isn't really going to be much of a review. I just love the movie, so it's going to be me ranting about it and kind of talking about what I did a little bit for today, or yesterday, technically. And the first thing I did was like a little video celebrating that it was October 21st, and that was midnight last night. And then when I got up pretty early, I went and got like this comic book, which is the first of the Back to the Future comic series, which is supposed to answer some questions that people have had for quite some time. And I'm very curious about when this takes place, because they also have the Telltale Games Back to the Future game, which takes place after the trilogy. So I'm wondering if this is sort of even after that, or if it blends in at the same time, or it's just jumping all over the place. But really cool. They have like a million different variants of this. I love this version. I thought it was the coolest because it was like black and white, old style comic book. It has, like, you can kind of see it has, like, it looks like it's messed up. I don't know if you can actually see like that little stain right there. It might not show up too well, but it's like stained purposely, and it has like writing on it and stuff, but it's all Back to the Future based. And so on the writing on the bottom, it'll say like Science Fiction Theater, which is George's show from like the first movie. And of course this is Marty acting like he's Darth Vader in the hazmat suit doing the Vulcan symbol and stuff. So I love that one. I haven't opened this yet, I haven't read it, but I'm looking forward to doing that. When I went to the theater, they also had shirts you could buy, so I got this one. And on the bottom, you probably can't see it from there, but it says it's 10/21/2015, and it says I was there. So I got this shirt. I do wish, the only thing I wish is that it, of course, was Back to the Future Part 2 instead of it being the first movie, because that obviously makes way more sense. But it's still awesome. I mean, there are a million shirts. Like, I could have easily gotten this shirt with just the Back to the Future or Back to the Future Part 2 on it, because you can get that anywhere. But that one's a little bit more special. Plus, it was cheaper. It was only 18, which any other shirt would at least be 20, so it was like $2. But anyway, Back to the Future Part 2 is a super great film. It's one of the great sequels. Like, it's like Terminator 2 and Empire Strikes Back, stuff like that. They're great sequels, and it's like, the first one's amazing, and of course people will argue back and forth, you know, which one is better, but for me personally, it's always been Part 2. Like, I love the first one, but the second one kind of just blows it away, and I think it's just the fact that they go all over the place. They go to the future, which is really, very cool stuff. They go, to the alternate 1985, which is really fun, and then they go back to 1955, and it's just super cool that they even did that. And it was just, I think that's the first time I'd ever actually seen that, and it's probably, it might not be the first time it was ever done. I mean, it was the 80s, but it's not like that's the early years of film exactly. But I'm pretty sure it's one of the first times that had ever been done where people went back in time and couldn't run into themselves or else it could cause a disaster. So just everything about it. The jokes, of course, are just really funny. Carrying over some stuff from the first film, like the manure stuff with Biff, which was really good. It gives great references to the third film, and it gives hints and stuff like that, which is actually really, really cool how they did that. Because part two, as well as part three, neither of those were even penned when they finished the first film. Like, I'm pretty sure it ended with to be continued, but they never actually had a plan to continue. Of course, the movie just blew up and it made so much money. It was like, well, why don't you guys, of course, make a sequel? Fortunately, during that time, it was a great sequel, unlike sometimes now where it's just like Saw or Paranormal Activity. They just spit them out and they aren't really that fun anymore. But in this case, it worked out pretty well, and they tied the second and third film together, like pretty much every trilogy almost seems to do, where it's like you can watch the first film by itself. This one's a little different, of course, because the first one ended with to be continued, but you could really watch the first one by itself, and then 2 and 3 really tie in more than the first two. They just add the ending scene to the beginning of the second film, and that's really the biggest tie there is. But the third one is like, they have all the references, like the Mad Dog Tannen stuff, and he ends up showing up in part 3. He's our, sort of Biff-based character. They have like the 1885 stuff with the time circuits flickering on and off, and Doc's like, man, I gotta fix this thing. And of course, that's where he gets sent to. The references to Doc's favorite time period being the Old West, or the Old West, and so he's like, I'll never get to go there because he's going to destroy the time machine. And it's like, but you are. At the end of this film, he gets sent back to 1885. So I love all the references that they put in, like all the little foreshadowing moments. They have basically the idea of this film is also in the first film, even though they didn't plan it that way. They do kind of take that idea from the first film when Marty and Doc first, they first show us as the viewers the DeLorean. Marty's like, I'm going to travel the world and stuff, see the future beyond my years, maybe, go back in time and place a couple of bets. He just said it as a joke. And then that is the premise of this entire film, which is really awesome. Or at least the starting premise. And then it's just like, save everything. It's not just save yourself. It's save all versions of time, really. So it's just really fun. Of course, all the iconic stuff from the future scenes. The hoverboard, which is really awesome. The Cafe 80s is a really fun scene. They have like all this stuff. Like they have like Pac-Man in the background, which I never noticed before. I never really looked at anything until I was watching it at the theaters. Because normally I just watch it. I'm just looking at the main characters. I never really look at anything else to really take it all in. So I was doing that this time, and that was pretty cool to see like Pac-Man in the background. And it says something like "Don't touch it," like they couldn't play it. But Pac-Man, Wild Gunman, which is I remember hearing this a while ago. It's technically a fake version. That version of Wild Gunman doesn't really exist. I think it does now because people have made it. But it didn't exist in 1985. It was like an NES version. And I believe there was an arcade version, but it didn't look the way that it did in the film. It didn't look as good. So that was something that was kind of interesting. And of course, little Elijah Wood is in there. He's one of the kids, if you guys never knew that. He's the kid who says, it's like a baby's toy. Well, he has like the green hat on. But that's little Elijah Wood. And just everything in the film. Like I said, this isn't much of a review. It's just me talking about my favorite parts of the movie. Like the alternate 1985 stuff is really fun to watch because one of my favorite scenes is, of course, when Marty runs into Strickland and he's like, he thought he was the one stealing his newspapers, and he's just like freaking out. He's holding his shotgun to Marty. Marty's freaking out, and he's like, you got 3 seconds to get off my porch with your nuts intact. And so Marty's freaked out. Then a car of like 4 people with machine guns come by the house, and they just light this place up. They just do a drive-by. Strickland is shooting at them with his shotgun. They're driving off. And I like that scene because, of course, Marty's freaked out. Like, he goes to his house. It's not his house, and he has to run from this father who thinks he's trying to attack his kids or something. Then he goes around. It's like not dead bodies, but like the chalk outlines on the ground. Cars crashed all over the freaking place. It was just like every street was just like car crash after car crash. And then he runs into his former principal, and it's just chaos. And so he takes off, and I like that scene because he just takes off and it focuses on Strickland, but you can just see Marty just sprinting in the background, just running for his life because things are insane. And I love that, and it's just a fun scene. And then of course the alternate history with him and Biff having killed his father in that timeline, and him mentioning like Gray Sports Almanac, and them having a pretty interesting scene. Like I kind of like that because obviously he got Biff's attention, and it's like he clearly should know about this, but he has to fix the future, so it's worth that risk. And I love that scene. Also, another foreshadowing moment when he's watching, I believe it's The Man with No Name. It's one of those movies in that trilogy. It's either that one, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, or whatever the third one is, and I can't remember the name. But that's what Marty does in the third movie. So I'm like, that's just another little thing that they put in there. Like, they wrote them all out, and it was like, okay, how do we reference this? Boom, he does it because it's the Clint Eastwood thing. And of course, he uses Clint Eastwood as his fake name in the third film. So all of that was just perfect. Like, that was another one of my favorite little foreshadowing moments for part 3. But that was a really fun scene. Them knocking out alternate Biff was pretty cool too, because he drops off the building and then he's on top of the DeLorean. It was just a cool moment. And then, them going back to the past again, lots of funny stuff. Doc running into himself. Marty, for whatever reason, thinking inconspicuous meant like full-on, just obvious stealth mode, where he has the black hat, sunglasses, and black leather jacket. And I like that first scene when they show him do that, and he's like, Doc, I'm at the house, and then he looks through the binoculars, but he has on like dark sunglasses. I always thought that was kind of funny, because it's like, it's gonna be like pitch black. Like, I know you can still see because it's binoculars, but it's like you have on these shades, and he's just like this through, sunglasses. I just thought that was funny. But I love this movie. It's my favorite movie, my favorite out of the trilogy. I love the way that it ends, where, Doc gets struck, the car gets struck by lightning. He's sent back to 1885. Everything's been fixed and corrected. It's like, all right, let's get the heck home. And then that happens, and it's just crazy. Like, the lightning strikes, and that's one of my favorite scenes in the movie too, because it's all this chaos and the wind's blowing and there's lightning and stuff. But once Doc gets hit and he's sent back to 1885, it's complete silence. Like, all the wind stops, the lightning strikes are done, and it's just like boom, and there's complete silence. And for some reason, I just love that scene. It shuts everything off, and it's just a scene for Marty to just reflect. And of course, if it's your first time ever seeing that, it's just like, what the heck just happened? Is they cut everything off, and you just have to sit there and think for a little bit. And then even with the rain, and it's just like, what in the world just happened? And it's just a great ending until the guy from Western Union comes up. And that's even a funny scene, because he looks like he's about to pull a gun on Marty, and he sounds all angry. And then there's like a letter. And so, of course, that's awesome. Then we get the reveal that Doc's alive. And, we have Marty going back to 1955 Doc at the end of the second movie. That just was so cool. And then that makes the beginning of the third movie really awesome too, because we're still in 1955, even in the third film, until he goes to the Old West. So, love the way it ends. And then we get like a little preview for part 3, because they were doing them both at the exact same time. And it was just awesome. It was like a cool little way to end it. I love getting to see it at the theaters. There are tons of people there dressed up as Marty, or people dressed up as Marty from the first movie, people dressed up as Marty from the second movie, who kind of made me jealous. There was one guy I saw there were a couple people I saw who had like the jacket and the shoes. And fortunately, I believe he had the jacket that I'm waiting for, and it looked pretty good. So I was like, at least I know I'm getting the jacket I want. And that was the other thing that sucked. I mentioned that like really early on. That was the second thing. I was waiting, and I've said this a bunch of times too, but I was waiting to get the jacket and the shoes. I wanted to see the movie as Marty McFly, and that sadly didn't happen. But had my hat, had my shirt, which I've never worn this. This was the first time wearing it, so of course I saved it for October 21st. And I had a good time. It was really cool. There were people dressed as Doc as well, so that was pretty nice, from the first movie as well as the second movie. So all of that was really fun. Getting to see the movie was great. The movie itself is freaking amazing. Of course, I want to know what you guys think of Back to the Future. It is one of the classic films, and I'm very excited for its 30th anniversary, whatever celebratory things are going to be happening then, which is in 2019. But today was a fun day, looking up all the news for Back to the Future, trying to figure out where the heck those auto lace shoes are. I know they sent some to Michael J. Fox. My girlfriend saw a story about that. So I'm hoping those come out soon and they aren't $1 billion freaking dollars, and I'm able to get one, even if it's like 200 or 300. I might have to get them because they actually lace themselves. But I'm kind of on the cusp. That's like the only thing. The Pepsi Perfect stuff. Apparently, a bunch of people are mad about that because it sold earlier than October 21st. They were apparently selling it on the 20th, and a lot of people were really pissed off because they sold out before it was even October 21st. Like, they put them on sale before the actual day. So I can understand how people were mad. I wanted one too, and obviously with them being sold out, that's not going to happen. And I'm also not spending $300 on one of those because it's just Pepsi in a Pepsi Perfect bottle. It looks cool, but I can honestly make one of those really cheap. I still, if I could find one for the $20.15, I would still get it because it's the actual version, because I'm that nerdy, obviously. But I wouldn't spend $300 on it off of eBay so someone can get way more money than it's worth. It's not even worth $20.15 to be totally honest, but because it's, you know, a nerd item, I can accept that. And plus it's $20. I can, even though it should only be like, I do wish, like a lot of people, that they just did a normal run. Like, even if it was just for like 3 months or something, like October, November, December, just the last 3 months of the year, just do Pepsi Perfect, and that would have been all they had to do for just 3 months. Like, let's switch it up, do this, or at least do more than 6,000, do like 100,000 or something. That's still not a lot, but you know, obviously worldwide that's nothing, but still better than like 6,000. I think it was like 6,400 or something really low compared to how many people definitely want, you know, these Pepsi Perfect bottles. But either way, great movie. Tons of stuff to, you know, that it's created that's lasted for obviously decades now, and it's going to continue to be a great movie. I love this movie. I'm going to keep watching it. I have to watch the third one because I haven't watched the third one in a while. I haven't seen the first one in a while either. I haven't watched that since earlier this year. And I watched the first one. I believe I watched the second one, but I don't think I did that either. Like, I have the 30th anniversary Blu-ray edition. I still think I've only watched the first movie out of that whole collection, and that was it. And I was planning on doing that. I think I did that at the very beginning of the year. My plan was on January 1st, I was going to watch all 3 movies and do like sort of a live reaction thing, and that just didn't pan out like I wanted it to, unfortunately. But I watched the first movie and that was it. I didn't watch the second one. I had to watch the second one because my girlfriend saw it before, so I guess we did watch that, but we never watched the third one, so I have to get her to watch that. And I haven't, you know, seen it in a while, so I'd like to see, you know, Clara and, you know, just the Wild West stuff, and hear Mad Dog call Nike's Nikes, which I always thought was really funny. But love this film. Of course, I want to know what you guys think about Back to the Future Part 2, and also what you guys did for October 21st, how you guys celebrate it, because there's a lot to do. There's a lot of different ways you could celebrate. Just dressing up, seeing the movies, even just listening to some of the music from the films, playing the games, mostly the newest game because the old NES games suck. Maybe even watching the old cartoon, which I heard isn't really that great either, but I found out that the new limited edition version that they had, which I'm gonna have to get, has all 3 movies as well as every episode of the animated series. So it's all 3 movies plus 26 episodes of the series, and there's like some 64-page book, and that's kind of why I really want is for that special book and the casing, because the casing is like a flux capacitor that actually lights up if you hit a button. So I saw that when I was at the theater I was in, because they had a little cool display case where it was like, they had like big model DeLoreans and stuff, and they had like some Lego DeLoreans and little figures from the films, and then they had different sets of the trilogy. So it was like the 30th anniversary edition. They had like a limited Best Buy limited edition version that they had, which had I think it was like 2 little license plates. So it was like the out of time license plate and the future license plate with the orange with the silver streaks through it. So I'd never seen that before. That was kind of cool. And then the brand new one, I didn't plan on getting that until I saw like, oh, this actually lights up. Plus it isn't just the 3 movies, it's actually the TV show plus this book. So that has me really interested. I'm sure the TV show is gonna kind of suck because pretty much all the TV shows based on really great movies aren't that amazing. Like the Ghostbusters one I remember is actually pretty cool, but I remember hearing the Back to the Future show wasn't really that great. I think Einstein talks in that or something. Some crazy stuff happens. I don't know, but I have to get that now, which is going to be a bit of money. But I still want it because I love this franchise and I want a freaking flux capacitor that actually lights up, and it's just, you know, the box set, and I want to see what's in this book, so I'm very curious about that. So I'm gonna be getting that probably tomorrow. I think I'm just gonna go to Walmart and just end up buying it if they still have it, hopefully, because it is a limited edition thing. So hopefully I'm gonna get that. Like I said, want to know what you guys think about Back to the Future Part 2, or just Back to the Future as a franchise in general. I don't know when I'm gonna get to my review for the third film, and it'll of course be before the end of the year. But I'll probably wait outside of October. It probably won't be until like November or December, and I'll watch probably all three together and then review the last one once I do that. But either way, thanks for watching. Of course, like I said, if you guys have any comments as far as Back to the Future in general, doesn't have to just be the movies, but the games, comics, if you want, you know, definitely go get the comics. They have some, you know, answers to a lot of crazy questions, which I'm so looking forward to reading, like what they create for this. But please put your comments down in the comment section below, and like I said, of course, thanks for watching.